Well, here we are going up Josephine with no doubt a shitty windshield. But oh well, it's a beautiful sunshiny day with blue skies. Let's make sure we don't speed through the school zone. Once upon a time, this used to be my favorite genre, is doing driving videos. I haven't done it for very much lately because I was using a high definition camera, a Sony Handycam, but it's old and it makes really crappy video. I mean, it's pretty good, but by today's standards, it's dark, it's not always in focus, and the compression looks awful once I take it into post and massage it a bit. I have my tricks to brighten it up and shine it up, but I've sort of reached the limits of what I can do with that, and it still looks terrible, in my humble opinion. It served me well for a good while. This is my Panasonic high definition camera. It's an HMC150P. And I have the advantage of being able to have like an external mic closer to my voice box, so hopefully my commentary comes through without a lot of white noise, which was impossible to filter out of the microphone on the Sony Handycam. This camera is kind of heavy. This mount, I didn't think this mount could even hold it, but I found a way to jerry rig it today, so it is holding it. Not sure how bouncy it's going to be just because of the camera really extended on the edge of it and how much heavier this camera is. Guess I'm taking a risk. I really hope she doesn't fall down on me, because that would be a tragedy. So I guess what I'm hoping for here is some sharper footage. Now, I recognize my windshield, I should have cleaned it, but it's kind of a difficult thing to set this up, get it recording, and then muscle myself into my driver's seat. So I kind of lost patience. I should have taken some Windex and some paper towel to the windshield. If this looks really, really bad, I might do it all over again. But this is a test drive, and we're heading up Ymir Road. This is the highway that leads south out of Nelson towards Salmo. Salmo's about 40k away from here. Wonder if I'm picking up that creek, Cottonwood Creek, on the side. At the moment, we're kind of driving into the sun, so I kind of wonder how much dashboard glare I have on the windshield. It's nice to film on sunny days because the skies look so nice and there's good light contrast. But part of the problem of filming behind a windshield is you get that dashboard glare reflected into your windshield, especially when you're approaching the sun, or when the sun's like kind of in front of you overhead, but kind of in front of you. We'll see how that looks in post. And yeah, I'm kind of wondering if I get brighter colors and sharper definition with this camera. It's going to be kind of interesting to take a look at it in post. If you know anything about Shambhala, or if you've ever heard of it, this is the highway you take from Nelson to get to Shambhala. It's about 40 kilometers to Salmo, and then another 10 kilometers east of Selma to get to Shambhala, so about 50k drive from Nelson. Here we are with the window rolled up, and I have no heaters on, so hopefully the white noise is to a minimum. I wonder if we get the RPMs of the engine. It's something I've always wanted in my videos, although I don't drive like a nutcase like I used to, which is probably for the best. Just passing the Nelson Waldorf School here. Ascending up into the heavens. This pass isn't too high, and I don't know if I'm going to go all the way up. Maybe I should go to the top of this pass. Road's fairly smooth, but there are some frost heavings from the winter. Kind of nervous because I can't see the status of my vacuum lock on the suction mount. I've got this camera mounted actually to the passenger window as opposed to the windshield. It's kind of an odd angle, so I'm kind of curious, you know, can you see the road, or are we looking at the trees on the side mostly? I mean, that could be an interesting perspective, I suppose. And I have autofocus and auto iris selected, so hopefully we're getting good contrast. Usually I like to manually set my iris, but since I can't keep an eye on it right now and we're fluctuating our light levels, I've got it on auto. So we'll see how that looks. Hopefully it isn't bouncing around too crazy. Laser tag, I've never gone. There's a guy that lives up here that I give cab rides to. Apparently it's kind of fun. I don't know. I used to play laser tag in Calgary back in the day, and that was a pretty enjoyable pastime. It was a much bigger facility, though. This one looks like a couple of sea cans welded together. Give Out Creek Road. Like to film that. I guess I did a little bit. Here's the turnout to Cottonwood Lake. Kind of nice, but I'm not going down there because it's way too bumpy and I don't want my camera to shake loose. Still quite a bit of snow up here, although it's starting to shrink down pretty fast. Being late March, I have thought about moving to a property up here, but I don't think I want to, just because of the extended winter and the incredible amount of snow they get up here. And that's something about Salmo. It is cheaper there. It is only 40 kilometers away from Nelson, but it's up in the mountains. So your winters are longer, you get more snow, your growing season is shorter. And since I like to do gardens, I don't really think Salmo's for me. Guess I could do greenhouse gardening, which is something I'd like to try if I get the chance this year. That's up in the air. I have to move in a month, and I have no idea where because housing is pretty tight in Nelson right now. Alright, we're mostly done climbing. That's not quite the apex, it's just up ahead. This is also the road you take if you want to go to Whitewater Ski Hill. And in fact, maybe I'll turn around and head back at Whitewater, which is about a 10-kilometer drive to the turnoff from Nelson. It's kind of nice up here. You get a little bit bigger sky. Hope those blues are coming through nicely. couple of crows or ravens there. I wonder if they came through. I do have the sharper camera now, so hopefully. I think that was the apex there. It's about 950 meters above sea level. And up ahead is a Whitewater ski hill turnoff. We're not going up there, way too bumpy. Especially right now that the ice has melted back, it's just a sea of potholes and deep washboard. Hard on my car, and the camera would just be bouncing around everywhere. You wouldn't see anything too well. Probably make you seasick. All right, that's the turnoff. Gonna turn around here. All right, let's head back down. Heading back to Nelson from the Whitewater turnoff. To the left, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, is the cross-country ski area. I don't think you really want to cross-country there now because there's a lot of swamp and water in there. In the wintertime, it's all frozen, but right now it's thawing out and might not have a good time trying to cross-country ski that. Kind of hard to come up with things to talk about. I usually drive in silence, believe it or not. I do have a stereo in this car, but of course I don't want to listen to it while I'm filming because I'll just get copyright strikes for all the background music. But even when I'm just driving alone without any camera, often I just drive in silence. In silence. Just enjoy looking at the view, of course paying attention to my driving. I used to drive really fast, but now I'm pretty much at the speed limit or just under. So if you ever see my driving videos, the more recent ones, and they look like I'm going Mach cubed, I'm not really. I'm going the speed limit or just under. Usually I go slower than the speed limit just because I get more frames per second, so you get more crisp detail of the surroundings as opposed to speeding your way through. You get more blur. And also, you know, I'm not interested in picking up speeding tickets anymore. And just being a good citizen. Why should I put other people on the road at risk for a bit of an adrenaline rush? Why risk an accident? To me, these are all good reasons to just be chill, watch my speed, And here's the hill back down into Nelson again. You have a passing lane going uphill, but no passing lane going down, which is pretty common here in BC. And a bit of a source of frustration to me having an underpowered 1.7 liter V4 or inline 4. Means I can never really pass anyone because this poor little car don't have the guts to pass people going uphill. And I could probably pass them easier going downhill, but I don't have a passing lane. Interesting to see how these little frost heave bumps play out in post. The Sony Handycam does have an interesting feature in that it's sort of good and sort of bad. It smooths out jitter or bumps or rapid movements and kind of like smooths them, so you don't see the sharp jags as I go over bumps. I do not believe this camera has that. This camera kind of films it as it is, which I appreciate actually. I'd prefer to do my smoothing in post if I decide to, as opposed to having that already evident in my raw footage. Ooh, that looks a bit gravelly and bumpy. Let's slow down for that. Starting to get to the outskirts of Nelson again. Up ahead is Mandela Homes. They build all kinds of homes, but I think he specializes in round houses, which is kind of interesting. I talked to the owner once a long time ago. Interesting guy. All those skis there is Daletown. Lots of people live in trailers and Winnebagos and camper vans. You want my advice? You don't want to end up in Daletown. I'm not going to go into why. The city of Nelson welcomes you. Well, thank you, Nelson. Happy to be here, at least for another month. I hope you see fit to bless me with a new place to live, because I've been looking for 2 months and it's not going too well. I think I need new rotors in this car. I redid the pads just before winter, and so I solved the squeak sounds with my brakes, but I've got a bit of shudder when I hit my brakes, so I think my rotors are warped. And they're probably the original rotors. This car has over 300,000 kilometers on it now. Probably not worth grinding them down. I should probably just shell out the bucks and put in new ones. But I've been thinking that since I bought this car, so. Kind of like the steep rock cliffs here. I don't like living in this gully. I have lived in this gully on Perrier, or Perrier, or however you say that word, road. But you get less sunshine. Still though, the rock features look pretty cool. And if you're a local and you don't feel like taking the main route, this is another sneaky way into Nelson. Just make sure you slow down when you come through here, because the speed limit is suddenly 40. Speed limit in Nelson is 40 unless otherwise posted. A lot of tourists seem to neglect that, and I see them get pulled over all the time. So if you ever visit Nelson, make sure you keep it to 40K or less. Or not. We love taking your money, so... But no, you should keep it under 40 for the safety of the good citizens of this little town. There's been some discussion about converting all of Nelson to a 30 kilometer an hour zone, which as a taxi driver I'm not a fan of. But I can see why, because there's more and more e-bikes on the road. And sometimes those guys come out of nowhere. Plus, Nelson's got a lot of people who walk with their children, walk their dogs especially. And sometimes I voluntarily go, 30, 35 through 40 zones just so I've got more reaction time to deal with people like that end up in the middle of the road suddenly. Their dogs get off the leash and run in front of you, or little kids on their bikes suddenly blow a stop sign and come right in front of you. Of course, playground zones and school zones are 30, but you knew that. I often do a hair under 30, maybe 25 to 30. For the same reason, little kids can be unpredictable. But not just the little kids, their mums as well. I've almost harvested a few car doors on this road as they suddenly open their doors and jump out of their car. And the roads are kind of narrow, so if you're not ready to stop, you're gonna harvest somebody's car door. Well, that concludes our little ride. I'm gonna park this up and take a look at our footage, see how it looks. I hope you enjoyed this little ride. I don't know if I'll include this part, but I like to back my car into my parking spot because it's a real tough time trying to back out and you can't see all the pedestrians and bikes and traffic. But if you back in when you can see all that crap, it's a lot easier. Bit of a pain, but it's way easier to be able to just pull out front ways when I'm ready to go again. Well, thanks for watching.